Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Boris Johnson isn't the only world leader who's been unable to escape his domestic dramas at the UN in New York. President Trump woke up to fresh calls for his impeachment. Democrats are demanding to know whether he used the threat of withdrawing aid money to pressurize the Ukrainian president into investigating his political rival, Joe Biden. Well, Siobhan Kennedy is at the UN headquarters for us in New York. Siobhan, what more can you tell us about this extraordinary story?
Well, Matt, it was President Trump's big day here at the UN, the time to give his speech today, but it was what he said ahead of the speech that has grabbed all the headlines. Bear with me, it's complicated, but the allegation is that President Trump, in a phone call in July, allegedly put pressure on the new Ukrainian president to investigate his political rival, the Democrat Joe Biden, and his son Hunter Biden, both of whom President Trump alleges were involved in corruption involving a Ukrainian gas company. I should say that there is no evidence that they were. President Trump has admitted that phone call took place, but today it also emerged that he ordered his aides to freeze nearly $400 million worth of aid to the Ukraine just ahead of that conversation. And it's that really that's led to a rising call today from Democrats for the president to be impeached. That was put to him today by reporters as he entered the UN. Let's hear what he had to say.
I think it's ridiculous. It's a witch hunt. I'm leading in the polls. They have no idea how they stop me. The only way they can try is through impeachment. This has never happened to a president before. There's never been a thing like this before. It's nonsense. And when you see the call, when you see the readout of the call, which I assume you'll see at some point, you'll understand.
Well, President Trump has since this afternoon tweeted that he's given his authorization for that unredacted telephone call he had, for the unredacted transcript of that, I should say, to be released tomorrow. Whether or not that is enough to stave off the growing pressure, the cries from the Democrats, remains to be seen. Nancy Pelosi, the most senior Democrat in the House, is due to make a statement on this in 2 hours' time, so more will become clearer soon.
Siobhan, thank you very much indeed.
But first, as if we haven't got enough of a political crisis on this side of the Atlantic, in the United States, the word impeachment was being used tonight by President Trump's political opponents. In the past few minutes, the leading Democrat, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House of Representatives, has called for a formal inquiry into whether Mr. Trump asked Ukraine for help in digging up dirt on the son of Joe Biden, a potential rival in next year's presidential election. It is the start of a process with the potential to force President Trump out of office.
President Trump was on his way to the biggest stage in world diplomacy.
Mr. President?
Mr. But as he walked into the UN, he faced a tsunami of questions about a growing scandal that may soon trigger impeachment proceedings. Did the president pressure the Ukrainians to dig up incriminating information to help his 2020 campaign?
I think it's ridiculous. It's a witch hunt. I'm leading in the polls. They have no idea how they stop me. The only way they can try is through impeachment. This has never happened to a president before. There's never been a thing like this before. It's nonsense. And when you see the call, when you see the readout of the call, which I assume you'll see at some point, you'll understand. That call was perfect. It couldn't have been nicer, and even the Ukrainian government put out a statement that that was a perfect call. There was no pressure put on them whatsoever. But there was pressure put on with respect to Joe Biden. What Joe Biden did for his son, that's something they should be looking at.
One reason this is so explosive is that it happened so recently. Just a few weeks ago, Trump spoke to the new Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, and asked him to investigate Joe Biden's son, here on the right, who had business dealings in Ukraine. It appears that at the same time, the US held back military assistance to the Ukrainians, even as they were fighting Russian-backed rebels. So for Democrats, it looks like Trump was searching for dirt on a 2020 political opponent and using the delivery of weapons as leverage. After all of the anticlimax of the Mueller investigation into Russian collusion, Democrats are again warning that America's constitutional integrity is at stake.
I truly believe, the time to begin impeachment proceedings against this president has come. To delay or to do otherwise would betray the foundation of our democracy.
I would be making an announcement.
The key voice belongs to the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, until now reluctant to put America through the ordeal of impeaching a president. But now the pressure is irresistible.
The actions of the Trump presidency revealed the dishonorable fact of the president's betrayal of his oath of office, betrayal of our national security, and betrayal of the integrity of our elections. Therefore, today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry.
I'm not going to address all of these various hypotheticals that have been aired out.
Republicans are left flat-footed and largely silent, although one senator is taunting his Democratic opponents.
If they want to do it, go hard or go home. Stop talking about it. Go to Amazon, buy a spine, and do it.
Tonight, Joe Biden, hoping to face Trump next year in the battle for the White House, fired back, insisting it's not his son who must be investigated, but the president.
He continues to obstruct Congress and flout the law. Donald Trump will leave Congress, in my view, no choice but to initiate impeachment. That would be a tragedy, but a tragedy of his own making.
The president's speech today at the General Assembly has been entirely overshadowed. He will return to the White House tomorrow in perhaps the greatest political peril of his presidency. And given Donald Trump's tumultuous time in office, that is saying something.
So, Robert, as you were saying there, Nancy Pelosi has resisted this moment for some time. How perilous a moment is this for the president, do you think?
Well, I think there are multiple developments playing out here tonight that make it ever more serious. Most importantly, perhaps, Donald Trump has conceded that tomorrow he will release the unredacted transcript of that July phone call with President Zelensky. That will presumably reveal that he did indeed pressure the Ukrainians to start investigating the issue of corruption that Trump believes surrounds Joe Biden's son. But it's moving beyond even that. Democrats and Republicans are tonight demanding to hear from the whistleblower who revealed all of this. The critical question they're trying to get to is whether Trump linked this $400 million arms deal to getting the political dirt from the Ukrainians. For Democrats, this is a massive moment. I mean, for a long time, the key figure in this, Nancy Pelosi, has been profoundly reluctant to go down the impeachment route because she thought that would actually play into Trump's hands. She felt it was better to evict him through the ballot box in 2020. But it is apparent now that in the Democratic Party, the momentum is unstoppable, that the tipping point has been reached, and therefore these pre-impeachment investigations are now gathering pace and are being accelerated. The big question, though, of course, is going to be ultimately whether Republicans break rank with their president. For this impeachment to be successful, a dozen or so Senate Republicans must vote with Democrats. And in this profoundly tribal political culture, that still seems implausible.
OK, Robert, thank you.